I told you that the creatives doing the best creative jobs with the best brands are not always the most talented? What if I told you that some of them are actually underqualified? Well, I'm here to make your day, because you can actually get creative work, have a fulfilling creative career without experience to start with. It's all about how you position yourself. It's what got me from completely ignored to head of creative at the UK's fastest growing brands. Let's cut to the chase. Let's imagine that you've studied a creative subject, or you just know that art and creativity is possibly your best subject and you really want to pursue it for your career. You've got to remember that when you want something, whether it's a promotion, a job, or some sort of career advancement, maybe you're starting a business and you want to earn money from selling your creative work, there is a human being who has the key to open the door to that opportunity for you. Whether you love drawing, designing, whether you're into video, whether you're a retoucher, photographer, whatever it is, there is a person on the other side of what you are creating, and you need to make your work known to them in a way that they can decide how to progress with that. Even if you feel like you're lacking professional experience and that's really holding you back, there are so many ways that you can be strategic in the way that you apply for creative jobs, in the way that you even start your own creative business if you really can't get a job. You can be super strategic over how you put your work forward. I hope this reassures you. You do not need to be the best creative in the world. You just need to be impossible to ignore. So the first thing I want you to do is to understand the game. You need strategy. You need to know what you're aiming for. And then you need to take the appropriate steps to get there. First, it's your skill. Have you actually got a level of skill required to do that particular job? So it's going to take some research to figure out what the skills required are. Or it's going to take you to understand that it's not just about talent and natural creative flair, it's about being able to do and achieve certain tasks. Second is about proof. Even though you feel like you've got the skills, have you got evidence to show that you have those skills? And don't worry if you don't have enough professional evidence. So if you haven't worked for enough businesses or brands to showcase those skills, you can do speculative work. And three, how are you actually going to add value to the business or brand that you're applying for? I think this is really important and where a lot of creatives go wrong. They think it's just about showcasing what they can do, and they forget actually that the business or brand has certain things that they're trying to achieve, and you need to show your level of understanding about that. I'm going to teach you how to build each level of this formula, even if you are starting from scratch. The thing to remember is employers don't just want your creativity. They actually want you to be able to achieve something for them. They want you to come in and make their life a lot easier. Adobe is pretty standard across the board, so you should probably have a little play with Adobe Photoshop, InDesign, Illustrator. Of course, we've got Canva now, which is incredibly useful, especially if you're in social media marketing. There is also Figma, which is owned by Adobe, and it's really great if you're a designer or a web designer. Video editors are probably going to be in Premiere Pro. I'm going to stop the list there. You do your research, but there are many different tools you can learn, and you do not need to spend loads of money to learn them. If you look on YouTube, you're going to find a tutorial for pretty much everything. Now, don't forget, even if you recognize what skills you need and learn a few tools, there are also soft skills that you need. The main thing to remember about creativity is collaboration. Are you easy to work with? This is a really important, underrated set of skills that if you can talk about that on your application, that you're really great with collaboration, you're onto a win. Okay, so let's just say that you've understood all the skills you need for the particular creative jobs that you want to apply for. Now you actually need to show proof and evidence that you are the right person for this particular job. So the proof is in the portfolio. So first, don't forget that people are very literal. So if you're applying for a job as a graphic designer, please show graphic design. You need to make other people's lives easier. If you've not worked as a graphic designer, put some work together. If you're saying you want to work as a graphic designer, then you need to, in your own time, try some graphic design. I mean, honestly, my portfolio looking back was kind of tragic. It was just this teeny tiny little A4 portfolio. I printed the designs on my home printer. So you know when it prints really bad and there's lines running through it, it's kind of really embarrassing to think about it. Hey, we all start somewhere, right? If you don't have what you need to start with, you have to create it. In your spare time, make sure your portfolio speaks to what you are applying for. Very, very simple. Even not just in terms of the subject matter, but in style as well. This next point is maybe a little bit advanced, but I just want to get you thinking about it at the start of your journey. It's not always about your creative work. It's about the results of your creative work. So this really applies for anybody that has worked in other businesses and brands. Please, please, please get used to chasing up stats and data from the projects you've worked on. Because what it's going to do, it's going to help creative employers actually make sense of your work from a commercial perspective. It also shows them that you care about the commercial perspective. And I think that in itself is a really strong pull. Here's a little truth bomb for you. Most employers will not hire you for the work that you've done. They'll hire you for the work that you can do for them. So this is really about you understanding business, being a little bit more strategic, and as I say, play the game. Advice for you: research the company. I know you might be desperate for a job. I understand that. I've been there, trust me. But there is no point in you spamming 100 companies with the same portfolio, because what's going to happen is it's not going to be relevant for them. It's not going to speak to them. And you're going to get really soul destroyed when you get ghosted by probably 99 of them. I would recommend that you research the brands that you feel are relevant for your skill and for your portfolio, and you get really savvy about what that brand needs. Example for you. When I worked at Gymshark, I learned very quickly that Gymshark was a very social media based creative brand. So if I was applying for Gymshark again now, I would make my creative portfolio very focused towards social media. The other thing you can do to make sure it seems like you're adding value is to actually show that you're a problem solver. This is really important because nobody wants to hire a creative that's going to cause problems. And as creatives, we have a little bit of a reputation, we can be a little bit crazy, and I love that about us. So you need to be very clear about what your value add actually is. The reason I think this is a great point is because that value add doesn't just have to be in skill, the tools you can use, and your portfolio. If you've got those things covered, your value add could really be about who you are as a person. It's kind of funny because when I was at Gymshark, I didn't actually really go to the gym. I also was the only girl in the creative team, and I kind of learned to leverage those things about me. I said, it's great that you've got someone on the team that's not an avid gym goer, because my perspective is actually really important. Maybe I'm a new customer, or maybe I'm somebody who's actually very intimidated by the gym. So my opinion really counts in the creative work. I also felt it was interesting that I was the only girl on the team, because from a creative perspective, the female audience made up a big chunk of the Gymshark audience. It'd be really interesting for me to put forward ideas for creative campaigns that women might want to see. That's not to say I know everything about what women want, but I've got a good idea. If you cloud or put a mask over who you are as a creative, it's going to dramatically affect your work. It's going to dramatically affect the level of creativity that you can output, and it's going to make you pretty miserable in your job. We've all grown up hearing the word networking and thinking corporate, people in suits. Build your personal brand, start to put some content out about yourself, and start to build up a little bit of a presence online. So if you do start applying for creative jobs, people may have already seen your name peppered across LinkedIn. Aside from online personal brand building for networking, just reach out to some aspirational people in the industry. Reach out to a few of them and see if they've got 10 or 15 minutes to jump on a Zoom call with you and just ask them some questions. So please don't be scared to reach out to a few people, do a few one-on-one calls, get a little bit of advice, maybe see if they could look at your portfolio, and actually build your confidence with networking in a new modern way. I'm actually really excited about this now. I feel like there's some really strong foundations for you to get started with applying for maybe your first creative job ever. But of course, I'm going to give you more than you bargained for today, because that's the kind of person that I am. I really want to talk about your mindset. We have to stop with the negative self-talk. I'm really passionate about this because it still holds me back. And I'm 34 years old. I've been a head of creative. I'm killing it as a freelancer. And still every single day, I plant seeds of doubt in my own mind. But a lot of incredible creatives, maybe even you, stop themselves from giving it a go. What is the worst thing that could happen if you send that job application? What is the worst thing that can happen if you try creating some new work or reach out to someone you admire in the industry? Like, the worst that can happen is it doesn't go anywhere. So what? Right? Like, you've got to be in it to win it, which is why I say that this is like a game. You've got to play the game. If you find yourself negative self-talking, if you find yourself thinking, I'm not ready for that, I'm not qualified, I'm not as good as the 1,000 other applicants that this job spec is going to probably have, try to just balance that negative thought with a positive one. Okay, let's bring this video to a little close. Otherwise, I will literally talk all day and I'm sure you've got better things to do. So if you want to land a creative job, here's what you need to do. You need to learn the skills, build the portfolio as proof, and then figure out what value you are adding in your application. And that's it. If you feel like this video has been helpful, then please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. That would make my heart very happy. And good luck with your job application.